I've spent over $50,000 on my education in the last 2 years, and here are three things I've learned in the process I want to share with you. So this may or may not seem like a very big number to some of you, but just to give some context, I came from basically not spending any money at all on my own self-education or self-development. I'm naturally a very frugal person, meaning I don't like to spend on things that I don't feel like I need. And it wasn't until the last 2 years until I came to the realization that I really did need the extra help if I wanted to succeed in the career path that I had chosen. And now you may not be a coach yourself, and you may not need to buy these courses and mentorships like I have, but the same things that I've learned in my journey would apply to the same things that you're going through, and how you may need to invest into some big decisions that can really propel and accelerate your progress in that field. For those who don't know me, my name is Derek Tun. I'm an online coach, and I'm using this channel to go through some of the valuable insights and lessons that I've gone through so far, which I hope are going to be helpful to one of you guys out there. So like I said, to start things off, I am a very frugal person, meaning I did not like to go out and spend a lot of money. I also didn't like to buy random things if it could be helped. And that's just simply because I wasn't making that much money to begin with. I'm basically very happy wearing the same clothes week in, week out, and not needing to buy any new clothes until one of them rips, basically. But all of this changed in the last 2 years when I started to want to take my career seriously and really wanted to build up my business and my skill set to become the best coach that I could be. And so let's get straight into it. These are three things that I've learned in the process of spending $50,000 on my education, in mentorships, courses, seminars, you name it, everything that I could get my hands on, how I went from not spending very much at all to spending $50,000 in the span of 2 years, and still in the process of finding more and more things to invest in. So the first big realization that I came to was basically understanding that when it comes to investing in a course, a mentorship, or education in general, you're basically paying for convenience and the time that it actually saves you on trying to figure everything out on your own. When you invest in the right places for education, you're basically paying for direct access to their knowledge and their skill set, which will help you avoid making the same mistakes that they made. There's no quicker way to learn than to learn from the mistakes of those who are more successful than you and those who are further ahead of you, because they've gone through the trenches and can teach you a thing or two about what not to do and what to do. Basically, by going down this route of self-development and education, you're able to streamline your entire process and 2, 3, 4, even 10x the speed at which you progress compared to if you didn't get any assistance at all. I always ask the people that I work with this one simple question. If I could get you the results in half the time, or let's say 3 months, without the headache, avoiding as many mistakes as possible, versus 3 years of doing it on your own and making all the mistakes and getting all the headache, which one would you prefer? As I've grown, I've realized I would rather pay to have option one and get the result and the outcome that I'm desiring a lot quicker compared to trotting along, dragging my feet through the floor and just sort of wasting a lot of valuable time. Because not only does it save me the headache, but it also gets me to where I want to be in a much more timely manner, which means more time will be spent on more productive activities later down the track. It gives me more opportunity and more productivity in the long term in exchange for short-term sacrifice of financial investment. And I think this is the mistake that a lot of people make when it comes to assessing whether or not investing into XYZ is a good decision. They simply see it as a cost. They simply see it as this amount is being taken away from my account rather than what am I going to gain in this whole process? Is it you're going to gain knowledge? Is it speed of action? Is it accountability? Is it the result? Whatever it is, as long as you're investing in the right places for education or the right people or the right team, whatever it is that you're going to plan to invest into, understand that there is an exchange. You are paying for convenience. You are paying to avoid making the plenty of mistakes that they made. You are paying for speed of delivery. Something that may have taken you a year on your own is now only going to take, let's say, 2 months. And so it really comes down to how much you value your own time and sanity. Because for me, if I'd continued being frugal and didn't want to spend a single cent on anything that I believe I needed help with, I can guarantee you I probably wouldn't be making videos right now. And I also wouldn't have a roster of clients. I also wouldn't be in a position where I'm able to help people and make a living from it. Or at least it wouldn't have happened so soon and so smoothly. And so if you're considering about learning a new skill, getting help with something, or just reaching out to a certain mentor or course, or want to do some extended learning for your own career, don't let your ego get in the way of you making this decision. Because in a lot of cases, understand that you are going to get a lot more value as long as you obviously go to the right person for that source of education. You are going to get an insane amount of value and speed of action and get a quicker delivery of that result compared to if you were to do it on your own. The second big realization that I came to was that you are ultimately limited to the knowledge that you actually have access to. I don't know if you guys have heard this saying, but my first mentor told me this: you only know what you know, which I think is a very common saying. What that basically means is you are going to always be capped at the knowledge that you've been exposed to and nothing more, because you don't know any more than that. It wasn't only until I started investing in my own knowledge that I realized how little I actually knew. It came down to how little I knew about marketing, about business, about sales, about fitness, about training, about nutrition, about structuring a program. A lot of things I had no awareness of, and I just simply believed I had all the answers. By assuming I had all the answers or that I could go figure it out on my own, that would always be the bottleneck to me becoming my best self as a coach and as a business owner. For you, that might be a bottleneck from excelling in your career, from becoming the man or the woman that you want to be. I definitely think there is a huge amount of ego that's involved when you start believing that you have all the answers and the key to all your problems. Because there's always someone smarter than you. There's always someone who's more successful. There's always someone who's doing better than you and knows more than you. And by shutting off all those connections, you are basically telling yourself that you don't need any external help. But if you think about it this way, even the best athletes in the world get help. The best of the best still seek out external help. And so it makes no sense why we would assume that we have all the answers and basically shut off that opportunity. We're in a day and age where accessibility of information, resources, and knowledge is so high that I genuinely believe that it's single-handedly one of the most greatest luxuries that we have in the world today. For me, if I didn't know how to write up training programs, I could just easily go to a well-respected fitness educator. They most likely have a very detailed, in-depth course that would explain and teach me everything I need to know about writing those programs. In fact, a lot of the courses that I've bought so far have been on training and nutrition, filling in those gaps that I couldn't find through YouTube or through Google because I needed more specific help from an expert. And ultimately, that helped me break through a lot of knowledge plateaus, helped me troubleshoot a lot of client issues, and taught me how to overcome a lot of these problems and find the solution for my clients. And so again, you don't have to be a coach to get these benefits. It can be in whatever you're feeling stuck with. There are websites now that literally have educators posting up their own courses and their own education. There are literally mentors for any aspect of your life that you want to improve on. Now, I'm not saying everyone's a good mentor, every course is a good course. Just know there's a lot of bad ones out there, but that's up to you to do your due diligence to find what's the most suitable approach for you and then trust it and take it in wholeheartedly and learn from it. And so, like I said, you only know what you know. And if you're like me, you won't know you don't know very much until you actually go out there and realize how much more there is to learn. The third and final thing, which I think is going to be a big hitter for you guys, is that the investment dictates your commitment. I genuinely believe the amount of the investment has a direct correlation with how well you do with that information and that knowledge. How well you utilize that resource, that mentor, that course, how seriously that you take it. I've bought cheap courses and I've also bought expensive mentorships. I can confidently say majority of the benefits that I've reaped from these investments into educations have been from the higher end investments. Anything that I had invested in that had made me think, fuck, that's a pretty big hit, I ended up taking a lot more seriously. Understand, like I said at the start of the video, I was someone who always opted for the cheaper options. I was frugal. And so hearing these big prices and these big investments, which were more than I've ever spent on anything, obviously there was a big hesitation at the start. But as you get more and more exposed to these sort of investments, I think that sort of sensitivity starts becoming numb. Not in a bad way. For example, with the last mentorship that I'm finishing up with, and I believe I spent well over $20,000 with them. I actually hesitated more at my first ever investment in my education, which was significantly less. But as I started seeing the benefits, as I started getting more comfortable with investing these bigger numbers, I started being more and more okay with the idea of understanding that, yes, it might be a hit to the account, but I'm going to get something more out of it in the long term. Think of it this way. If I gave you two cars, one, let's say it's $500, versus one, let's say it's $5 million. Which one do you think you're more likely not to want to crash or absolutely fuck up? Probably the $5 million one, because the value of it is much higher. Same thing goes for if you bought a $5 t-shirt versus a $5,000 t-shirt. You're going to want to make sure that you don't mess up that $5,000 t-shirt. And that's simply because your skin in the game is a lot higher. And so your investment into that is much higher as well. You're not going to want to waste a single dollar of it. You're not going to want to mess it up, fuck it up in any way, or basically waste your hard-earned money by not utilizing how it should be utilized. And so the same thing goes with your education. I think far too often we always look for the cheaper option, the free option, and think that we're going to get the same amount of value. And yes, you'll definitely find a lot of free resources and a lot of mentors and coaches who are a lot cheaper. But what you'll also notice is when you invest into those ones, you're most likely not going to take it as seriously, which also means you're not going to put in nearly as much effort. And ultimately what that means is you're not going to get the best result that you could be getting. And this is not me saying that you should go buy the most expensive program. All I'm saying is be aware that your investment and skin in the game has a very, very good indication of how seriously you're going to take that course or that education to begin with. The more you have on the line, the more investment you put into it, the more seriously you're going to want to make the most out of it and get the best result and the best outcome for yourself. For me now, whenever the price doesn't hit me a little bit after I hear it, although my threshold of acceptance is a lot higher than where it used to be, it's not that I completely shut it off and be like, no, that's way too expensive. It's, okay, why is it so expensive and what am I going to get out of it? And so those are definitely the three big things that I've learned in the last 2 years since investing $50,000 into my education and self-development. I'm not telling you to go out and do this. I'm not telling you to do anything. These are simply my insights and what I've picked up coming from being extremely frugal, never investing into anything, simply relying on Google, YouTube, information from other people, to now always looking for very specific help. That's another thing. When you rely on free resources, asking around and just your own ways of finding information, what that tends to lead to is very, very generalized information, making it very tricky for you to apply it to your own situation. Because what ends up happening is you try to consolidate all this information, and a lot of times there's a lot of information. And what that leads to is overload. You end up getting confused, you end up trying out one thing only to jump to the next thing. You don't know exactly what you're doing, but you're trying to make sense of everything that's coming in. When you get hyper specific and you identify what areas you need help with, then you can go look for very specific help, get that problem solved for you, and then quickly jump to the next thing and then figure that out as well. Rather than spending 2 years dipping your toes in different areas that you need help with, only to progress 10% versus progressing 100% in that area. So just to give a quick summary, those really are the three big lessons that I've learned since starting to invest into my own self-development and sort of breaking free of that frugal mindset that I shouldn't be spending on anything. And yes, I'm still quite frugal now. I still don't like to buy things that I don't need, but I have no issue investing into a course, a mentorship, a coach, if I believe it's going to get me to where I want to be in a much quicker and efficient fashion. And that's the mentality that I hope that you guys can adopt, because I genuinely believe that if you can and understand what I'm trying to share with you, you are going to be a very different person a year from now when you actually start prioritizing your own self-development and taking that risk, putting some money forward in order to get better results. So just remember, investing and paying for education, you are not just paying for that information, but you're also paying for convenience and the time that it saves you from trying to figure it all out on your own. You are also paying for quicker results, less headache. You are paying for information that you wouldn't have had access to otherwise. Ultimately, overcoming that bottleneck in your self-development, which was basically you only know what you know. And until you really expose yourself to how much more information is out there, you'll always be capped to the knowledge that you only have access to. It would be a shame not to utilize the luxury that we have of having access to great minds and great educators in this world. And the final thing is the investment amount will dictate your seriousness and your commitment. The greater the investment, the greater the skin in the game, means the greater commitment you're going to make to what you're investing into, which means the more serious you'll take it, which means better results and the better outcomes you're going to achieve in the long run. And so guys, if you've watched this far and you're someone who really wants to start excelling in whatever you choose to excel at, you really want to start breaking free of your knowledge plateaus, breaking free of everything that's holding you back, and you're just not really sure where to go, and you've spent months and maybe even years trying to figure it out on your own, I really, really do recommend you start taking those risks in investing into something or someone to teach you how to do things in a better way and to give you new perspective. Because looking back now, I wish I had started doing it earlier. I only imagine where I could have been right now if I had started to invest into my knowledge when I was 18. Who knows where I could have been today? I could have hit the jackpot and found that perfect course or that perfect piece of knowledge that excelled me in life, where it would have taken me 10 years, it only took me 3 years. And so guys, that wraps up today's video. If you've watched this far, I appreciate you staying tuned with me. As usual, if you enjoyed this video, click the like button, share it with your friends, and let me know by subscribing to the channel. I'll be aiming to shoot out a video a week to share some more insights and some more values into what I've learned in the last few years of my life, which I believe may help some of you guys with your own journeys. And of course, I'll be definitely sharing some of the wins and client success stories as well, and a lot more fitness content, which is going to help you guys build your strongest, leanest bodies this year. I'm not saying I have all the answers or I know what's best. All I can do is share my own experience and what's helped me to get to this point where I'm able to help other people get in great shape, but also help myself become the best version I can be for myself. If you'd like to see some of my shorter, more bite-sized content, which are easier to digest, pop over to my Instagram at Coach Derek Tun, where you'll find plenty of free resources, free values and tips, which are going to help you guys take your fitness to the next level as well. That's it for today, guys. Hope you guys have a great day and a great week ahead, and I'll talk to you guys soon. See ya.